What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you are here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. And I thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday morning, wherever you may be at, whatever it is you may be doing. I hope it's awesome. I hope your week has been off to a great start. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're kicking ass in life and just enjoying it while you're doing it. Guys, today, I try to keep Wednesdays a little bit kind of shorter, sweet, straight to the point. Saturdays, sometimes I kind of ramble a little bit more about some things. Today, as the title says, count the wins, acknowledge the losses. All right. So this is something that I try my best to do when it comes to kind of getting my momentum continuing or getting it built back up if we encountered something to kind of take us back a little bit, whatever it may be. This was actually something I thought about over this past weekend while I was out getting in some cardio around the neighborhood. And I was like, man, it's really easy when you're going through a tough time, like when you're going through a difficult moment or a season, that you can get so caught up in the losses, like all the things that are going wrong or that aren't working well, or, things that you wish you were doing better, or so on and so forth. Right. And that's why I say you have to acknowledge those. You have to acknowledge the losses. However, if you're trying to build momentum, you're trying to maintain momentum, whatever it may be, count your wins. And the reason I say that is because there's been times in my life where I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, this isn't going right. This needs to be done better. I got to fix this. I need to learn that. I don't know what I'm doing here, whatever it may be. Well, what I'm doing subconsciously is I'm counting my losses. I may not be physically writing a check mark or a tick mark down for every loss or everything that's not considered a win, but I'm subconsciously counting those losses by racking them up. What is that going to do? That's literally just going to create negative momentum, right? The law of attraction works in that you're going to get what you put the most effort and thought into. So if you're just thinking about all of the things that you haven't won, that you haven't done, that you wanted to do, whatever it may be, if that's all that you're thinking about, you're going to attract more of it. Okay. However, if you flip to the other side of it and you're having a tough time, you're trying to get momentum going, you're trying to keep momentum going, whatever it may be, and you start counting your wins. And instead of literally listing off all of the things that aren't going how you want them to go, and instead put your effort into all the things that are going how you want them to go, that you've done good, that you've won at, that you've accomplished and achieved, again, the law of attraction works that you're going to start getting more of those. So you want to make sure that the effort that you're putting into when it comes to acknowledging the goods and the bads in your life is you're giving more weight and more credit to the goods that you've accomplished. Because if you give it to the bad, you're going to attract more bad. All right. So here's the caveat, though. When you're talking about acknowledging the losses, you can't live in a life or in a world that, just tries to appear to be like all sunshine and rainbows, right? You have to make sure that you're acknowledging the failures, you're acknowledging the shortfalls. Because if you don't, then you will have this fake view, this fictitious view of your reality that is not actually true. And so then you're going to start sending yourself down this path that you believe to be true because you're not acknowledging the reality. Okay? So that's why I say that the losses have to be acknowledged. Like I said, when I was thinking this weekend, when I was outside getting some workouts in, I was like, man, we've done a lot of great things, as a company. What we've accomplished this year, I just started thinking about it. I'm like, man, from the beginning of the year, one of the big things that comes to mind is our operations manager, JJ. I had, it's kind of at the end of last year, beginning of this year, we were transitioning over to having him start doing all of our scheduling for all of our in-house crews, our in-house projects, things like that. And it was a big thing. I was like, oh man, this has always been something I've done. Now someone else is going to be responsible for this. Holy cow, how's this going to work? And I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, this has actually gone really well. There's been a lot of pluses. The guys have been happier in the crew. The customers have overall been happier with communication and planning and scheduling because I'm not trying to juggle all these things, right? So if I didn't take time to acknowledge that win, right, that I was able to delegate something that someone wanted to do. I mean, these were things that he was asking to take off my plate. Hey, can I help with this? Can I help with that? If I didn't take the time to acknowledge that win occurred, right, that one win occurred, then I would have been so over here walking down the street focusing on Well, I got to get this process ironed out. I got to get this document filled out. I got to get this done. I got to train this person. I got to schedule this review. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then at the end of the day, that's all I would have been focused on. Instead, by taking the time to count the win, like in this specific scenario, taking the time to really like dive into and solidify that one particular win that we've had this year, it reframed the way I was focusing on the losses. So instead of worrying about all the things I need to accomplish or didn't yet get done or that I lost at, instead my frame is now, okay, well, I got this win over here and I was worried about it earlier on, and now it's turned out to be great. So how can I look at this document I need to get filled out or this process I need to get ironed out and put it in that same category that I'm going to look at in a few months? Be like, man, I won that. I won that. And I remember how it felt when I won the scheduling thing. And now I'm going to remember how it feels when I win the processes or when I win the documentation or when I win whatever the task is I'm needing to get done, right? So all in all, how you determine to look at your wins and losses will very, very, very greatly determine the direction that you go. Like it has everything to do with the trajectory of your professional and your personal life. If you spend all the time and all the losses and the negatives, and you start counting those, well, you better be good at counting because you're going to count a whole lot more of them, right? But if you can reframe all that and put that same effort into counting your wins and really acknowledging those and counting those and racking them up and stacking them, and then when you have to go acknowledge the losses, you're going to take that winning framework, that winning mindset into the losses to convert those over into the win category. So that's kind of something, like I said, that I've been really trying to work on with myself and how I frame things that I'm dealing with, because at the end of the day, how I frame it is my reality. You know, I may have a frame and a view on it that says, oh my gosh, this is absolutely horrible, end of the world, blah, 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 blah. Someone else with a completely different frame could look at it and say, well, Daniel, you just do X, Y, and Z and the problem's fixed. And they're over here asking me why the heck I think the world's ending. I'm like, well, it's probably because I looked at it that way. So it all really comes back to us, right? I think I've heard it said before a lot of different ways that, like, if you really look at the root of a lot of the problems in your life, you are the root of those problems, right? Even the stuff that you don't necessarily even have a lot of control over, how you look at those things is what creates the problem or what makes it a bigger problem than it needs to be. You know, so a lot of people say, you know, if you want to see change, look in the mirror, right? You have to start there. You have to start by looking at yourself and how you're viewing things and how you're seeing things. If you don't see yourself as a winner that can accomplish these things, that can dominate these things, that can, you know, make things happen, and instead you're over here focusing on all the stuff that you're not doing how you want to do, well, then you're going to get more of that. So if you focus on getting the wins, not losing, and just taking one step, one foot in front of the other, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year, eventually you're going to find yourself in a winning lifestyle that you have no choice but to win because of the way that you view these things. So, like I said, guys, count your wins, acknowledge your losses, take the steps in the right direction to move the needle forward, to make the progress, because every time you do that, that's a win in your book. And if I have anything to do with it, a win in your book means it's a win in my book. So the more people that I get out here that are winning, the bigger my wins get to be too. So I want you to win so I can win. All right? That's how this all works, right? Everybody's in this life together. Our friends, our families, our coworkers, our peers, whatever it may be. Like, we're in this together. The more the people around us win, the more that we get to win too. You know, like I tell you guys, I do this show, I do these podcasts because I want to hopefully just pave the way to make it a little bit smoother for someone somewhere to go through their life, to go through their journey, to go chase their goals and their dreams, to make it just a little bit easier off of learning the things that I've learned. You know, and all these things that I talk to you guys, I've learned from somewhere else too, whether it's from another individual, whether it's from my own life experiences, whatever it may be. So pass these things on, because like I told you, the more people that are winning around you, you know, kind of going back to the law of attraction, the more people that are winning around you, the more you're going to win too. So I encourage you guys to finish the back half of your week this week with some wins. Acknowledge the wins that you've occurred, that you've had, that you've achieved in your life. You know, we're a little more than halfway through the year at this point. So let's make sure that the back half of this year is going to be stronger than whatever the first half of the year was, because you have complete control over it. I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. See you guys on